Hey, how you doing out there? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Anthropic dropped Claude Fable 5 about 2 days ago, and one of the big features that Fable is boasting is this ability to take a goal, write its own tests, run those tests, and then optimize in a loop without a human being involved at all to get you where you want to go. So, I had an idea. I asked myself, what if we build a really bad MCP server with a really bad tool, and then on round one, we're going to ask Fable to improve it using arcade evals as its scorer. Then, I'm going to take it a little farther. So I'm actually going to create a dice rolling MCP server, and then using Toolbench, which is another arcade, completely open source eval framework that you can use. So that'll be part one. Then in part two, I'm actually going to create an MCP server that rolls dice, and we're going to see if we can take it from an F on Toolbench all the way up to an A, or at least a B on Toolbench. So the entire idea here is these models are super powerful. They're really good at reasoning, but if your tools are not well defined, even the best model in the world can't use it effectively. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like in practice. So let me go ahead and clear, and let's ls. So let's just take a look and see what's inside here. So we've got our evaltools.py and our server.py. And then we also have this level 2, but we're not worried about that yet, right? So let's take a look and actually see what's in this server.py. And like I mentioned, we have this MCP server, text tools, and then we have this tool, FMT, which pretty simple, right? It's going to take the first n characters of a string. So if that string was hello world and we said 5, it's going to return hello. So it's a pretty simple task, but we've really bungled this tool, right? We have vague name, vague params, vague docstring, and what I assume will happen is if I try to get even Fable 5 to run this, it's gonna mess up in some way. So I'm now gonna take a look at our eval. So like I mentioned, we're using arcade eval for this first layer where you can pull in these evals, and then you define what you would want your case to look like. So here for us, truncate to the first n characters, give me the first 5 characters of hello world, and we know that we should get hello back. And we also know that the eval expects a truncate text max characters call, but the starter tool is fmt s n string and then n integers. So obviously this isn't going to go too hot. So we can actually run this command here. So now that we know exactly what is going on in both of those files, can go ahead and clear. And we're actually going to run this eval using Fable 5. So obviously I specified Fable 5 as the model, and it's running the evaluations, and just like we thought, it failed. Why did it fail? Because we got a tool selection mismatch. So this is the eval working exactly as we wanted it to work. Okay, now that we've seen that it's failing, even Opus 5 can't get around a poorly constructed MCP server and poor tools and poor evals as well. So let's take a look and see if it can debug this problem using arcade evals. So first, let me go ahead and switch that model to Fable. I've already got it on Fable, and then let's just make sure that the effort is on max, or let's even do ultracode, because why not? We want to see what the model can do at its most powerful state, right? All right, so we've got Claude ready to go, and I have my prompt already copied pasted, so I'm just going to paste it in, and then we can read it. You have an arcade MCP tool in server.py and an eval suite in eval text tools.py. Run arcade evals, read every failure, and improve server.py until a model reliably calls it correctly. Add 3 or 4 tricky eval cases, then keep iterating until the whole suite is green. Don't ask, just get it green. So I've put Claude to work, and it is now starting the loop. So first it's going to read the tool and eval suite, then it's going to run the baseline, and I see that I've used 91% of my session limit. So Fable's hungry for the tokens, but of course I did put it on the max effort, so this is to be expected. It's going to be very thorough here, and that's really what I'm looking for, is to see exactly how thorough it gets. So we're running the baseline eval now. You can actually see that it's running it. And we already know that it's going to fail, and we know why it's going to fail, but obviously Fable didn't have access to that information, so it needs to actually run it. And while it's running, one of the things I really want to emphasize here is no matter how good the model is, if you don't have the right MCP server shape, you don't have the right tool shape, you don't have the right eval shape, you're not thinking about this in terms of a jobs to be done framework, the most powerful model in the world isn't going to be able to take actions reliably. So that's why we're exploring this today, is because these things that go around the model are just as, if not more important than the model itself, because you might come to the perfect conclusion, but if you can't take the action consistently, it doesn't really matter. So you can imagine, agent that's really good at picking stocks, it can reason wonderfully, but then when you actually go to buy the stock or sell the stock, it doesn't do that confidently, or it doesn't do that robustly, or it doesn't do that without messing up. Wouldn't be a very useful agent, right? So the goal here is to combine the wonderful reasoning that people are working on with reliable actions so that you can actually use these agents to do things in the wild. Okay, so it ran the baseline eval, and the exposed name is always toolkit tool. So it's reading the actual comparison site in eval.py to see what's compared. And I really like how deep it's going into this, right? It didn't just run the test, see that the test was failing and change the name. It's actually getting context. It's thinking about this much like an engineer might think about it, which is pretty cool to see. Okay, so now we've got some changes here. It changed the name of the function. And not only did it change the name of the function, look at that. It's actually describing what the function does. We've got a nice description. Counting includes spaces and punctuation, so it's even thinking already about some edge cases. And yeah, tool quality is already just vastly improved. Shout out to Fable. And the example use case in there as well, just so it knows exactly how it works. This is just a much better tool, which is going to lead to a much better MCP server. And let's see if the changes that it makes are going to allow us to pass the arcade eval. I suspect it will, but you never know. Okay, doing a quick local sanity check even before we do the eval run, because obviously the eval run hits the API, so it looks like Fable is saving me as many tokens as it can. Shout out to Fable, while using a lot, obviously. So now we are running the new eval, and I think it's safe to say that this eval will pass. We've already changed the name. I am curious as to what test cases it decided to add, so after this runs, let's go ahead and actually check out the server.py as well as the eval suite.py, just to see what changes did Claude make. Or sorry, did Claude Fable 5 make, right? You might remember that the MCP server we had was really simple with that one tool that was pretty poorly defined. And then we had pretty simple eval where we just had that one case with Hello World. So let's see what Fable comes back with. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're adding suites. So first word expressed as characters. Give me the first word of Silent Harbor Nights. Okay. Then we've got cut at first comma, exclusive. Shortened by N, not to N. Decoy number in request. My favorite number is 12, but ignore that. Just give me the first 7 characters of Omega Point. So yeah, Claude's prompt injecting itself, basically. And then we're going back to server.py to now add in even more information on the tool so that the LLM is really, really clear on exactly what's going on. Really love this thoroughness from Fable. This is really good stuff. And you know what? Let me make this a little bigger for everyone. So we are currently running the evals. And we already know it passed, even though it's still thinking about it. You see, we got a 5 out of 5. 5 total, 5 pass. So we passed those tests. And now Claude's going to do whatever Claude does. But while it's doing whatever Claude does, I'm actually interested in looking at these new files. So once again, if we ls, I can cat this server.py, and it's a brand new, it's like a brand new car, right? So first, we actually have the correct word for the tool. We have a wonderful definition of what both the inputs do. We have a wonderful definition of what the output should be. We even have some examples down here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then let's take a look at the eval text tools. So now this one is pretty similar, but we added these edge cases that we've already covered, right? So just how do you deal with a decoy? How do you deal with inclusive, exclusive, etc.? And if I go back to Claude now, we can see, boom, we got to that final score of 100, starting with a score of 0, and even ran it multiple times just to confirm. So on the first test, which is can Fable 5 take a poorly constructed MCP server and a poorly constructed tool and a poorly constructed eval and work without any human intervention to get it to a place where it works reliably? Pass with flying colors. Next, we're going to do something a little more thorough. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an MCP server using arcade scaffolding. It's going to be a dice rolling MCP server. We're then going to submit that MCP server to Toolbench. We'll get our grade back. And then we're going to tell Fable, hey, using Toolbench as your score, the same way we used arcade evals here, go out there and improve this to get it to an A. And we'll see if Fable can do that. So thank you for joining me for this video. Once again, the takeaway here is it doesn't matter how good the models are. If your tools, your evals, your MCP server is not properly configured, if you're not thinking about this in terms of jobs to be done, you're not going to have a good time. Thank you and have a good day.